In this recording, we'll discuss an introduction to the urinary system. Your urinary system is composed of both of your kidneys as well as the urinary tract, which includes your ureters, your bladder, and your urethra. The urinary system overall is responsible for removing waste from the blood. We do this via the urine. We also regulate the composition and volume of blood. The kidneys do this with helping regulate blood pressure via secretion of renin to activate the RAS system. And your kidneys stimulate erythropoiesis by secreting erythropoietin. I know that's hard to say. EPO. There we go. In addition to all those things, look, we got more. Your kidneys help regulate fluid and electrolyte balance by regulating the osmolarity of your blood, also known as the solute concentration of the blood. We do this by either conserving or eliminating water and electrolytes like sodium and potassium. And last but not least, your urinary system assists with the blood pH control by either conserving or eliminating hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. So, your kidneys, both of them, they're only about as big as a bar of soap, so they're not really all that large. They are bean-shaped, which I always think that's kind of funny. Kidneys are described as bean-shaped, but then kidney beans are described as kidney-shaped. I just always think that's funny. Your adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. I always like to say that your adrenal glands are the party hats that sit on top of your kidneys. And your kidneys are, in fact, retroperitoneal, so they actually sit behind your peritoneal membrane. Now, each kidney has a hilum, and we've seen that word more than once. Think back to, for example, your lungs. Okay, so the hilum is the opening on the medial surface where your arteries, veins, ureters, nerves, all that good stuff, both enter and exit into the kidneys themselves. Okay, so this is where all the stuff goes in and out. You do have 3 layers that surround the kidney. The first one is your fibrous capsule. It is in fact fibrous. It's made of dense, irregular connective tissue. It covers the exterior of the kidneys, and it helps protect from infections and physical trauma. And then we get a little bit of fat, your perirenal fat capsule. This helps wedge the kidneys in place, and it also helps prevent against physical shock and trauma also. And then last but not least, we have the renal fascia. This is more dense, irregular connective tissue, but this one is responsible for anchoring the kidneys to the peritoneum and also the abdominal wall muscles as well. So if you think about where your kidneys are, let's see, here's a picture. So anteriorly, it's a little difficult to see just exactly how far or how deep into the body your kidneys are, but we can see the peritoneum here sits on top or in front of the kidneys. Okay, but if we look at the posterior view, your kidneys sit fairly close to your spine and your ribs. Okay, so we do try to protect them in any way that we can. So we've got those couple of layers on top of them. But you'll also notice, especially in the front, there's really not a whole lot to anchor your kidneys to. So we could anchor to maybe your ribs or your spine in the back, but in the front, there's really not a whole lot to hold on to except the peritoneum. So we grab the peritoneum in the front, and in the back, we actually just grab a hold of your muscles. Okay. But here's your kidneys. Look at them. They're cute. Here's your little party hats, your little adrenal glands. Okay. All right. Did we say all the things? Yep, we said all the things on that slide. All right, here we go. Just another view of the kidneys. This one is a transverse view. You can see your giant liver, your stomach. Look at that little gallbladder. But these are your kidneys. This is your spine, so you can get a better idea of how deep your kidneys are within your body. Okay, and there's that fascia that peritoneal layer as well. Fascia, peritoneal. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. So now that we've got an idea of what we're talking about, here we go. Okay. So we had 3 layers that cover the kidneys. We also have 3 distinct regions of the kidneys that can be seen microscopically. The outermost region is the renal cortex. The inner middle region, well, I should say the middle region, excuse me, is the renal medulla, and then the innermost region is your renal pelvis. Now, the cortex and the medulla are where you form urine. The renal pelvis and other associated structures that we'll talk about in a minute, these are where you drain urine. Okay, so it's made in the cortex and the medulla. We're going to drain it through the pelvis, and eventually that urine will exit via your ureters. Okay, so the cortex itself, it's a kind of a reddish brown. It's got a dark hue to it because it is rich in blood supply. Okay, in fact, upwards of 95% of all the blood in the kidneys, okay, it's going to be in the blood vessels found in the cortex. Okay, so like we're not kidding around here. Your cortex, your renal cortex, is full of blood. Now, you will also see an additional structure, and they're called renal columns. These are actually just extensions of the renal cortex. They pass through the medulla. They poke inwards towards the renal pelvis. And this is where you find the branches of the renal artery. And let me see if we've got a picture. Where's our picture? Here's our picture. Okay, so this outer region, and it's actually a little lighter in color, just to distinguish these regions. But this is the cortex, and you can see here we've kind of pushed inwards. Okay, these are your renal columns, and you can kind of see here you've got all these blood vessels in the cortex. Okay, all right, so let's go back real quick. All right, so we did the renal columns. Okay, so you have over 1 million nephrons that are found within the cortex and the medulla of each kidney. Now, we haven't really mentioned nephrons yet, but put that word somewhere you can get to it easily, because that's all we're going to talk about real soon. The nephron, the nephron, the nephron. That is the functional unit of the kidneys. That's where all the good stuff happens. Okay. You have 2 parts to the nephron. You have a renal corpuscle, which is found in the cortex, and then you have a renal tubule, which is mostly found in the cortex, but some parts of the tube do dip into the medulla also. So let's see if we go forward. Let's just see again. This is a nephron. Okay, so this whole part, you can see the corpuscle, we said that was globe shaped, and then we've got the tube, the renal tubule. You can see it's nice and windy and twisty. Again, most of it was on the upper part, the cortex, but some portions of the tube do dip down into the medulla region. Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about. Again, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the nephron. All right, so we did the cortex. We mentioned the nephron. Last is the renal medulla. Okay, this contains cone-shaped pyramids, these renal pyramids, and each of the pyramids is separated by a column. So one more time, if we go to our picture, okay, we see these triangles, these pyramids. These are your pyramids, okay, your renal pyramids, and in between each pyramid is a column. Okay, so column, pyramid, column, pyramid. Now, let's go back, make sure we say all the good science words. Each pyramid at the bottom, at the point, okay, the apex, it points to a papilla. Okay, so the papilla is basically the point, okay, at the end or at the bottom. Each of those papillae are going to border up to a minor calyx. Where's my thing? Here we go. Minor calyx. This is where urine first drains into. Okay, so anything that enters the minor calyx, it is now officially urine. Okay, we can't really call it urine, or we shouldn't really call it urine, okay, until it gets into the calyx. Now, each of your kidneys has approximately 3 to 4 of these minor calyces, is just plural. Okay. Each of those will then drain into a larger structure. Call those your major calyx or your major calyces. And each kidney has somewhere between 2 and 3 of the major calyces. Those major calyces will then drain the urine into your renal pelvis. And your renal pelvis is directly attached to the ureter. Okay, so this is how this is how urine leaves your kidneys and gets into your ureters. You do have a little bit of smooth muscle that contracts within the calyces that help propel, and the pelvis. All of that helps propel the urine towards the ureters, good old peristalsis that you're already familiar with. All right, so just to reiterate, we said the bottom point. It's not a super pointy point, but it's the bottom. All right, this is the papilla. That drains directly into the minor calyx. Okay, and remember we had a couple calyces. Okay, a couple minor calyces, and then those would drain into these larger major calyces. Okay, and all of those calyces would drain into the renal pelvis. And so the urine would be able to move right into the ureter, which is the structure. Okay? All right, and you can see kind of the pathway for urine from the papilla, renal papilla of the pyramids, minor calyx, major calyx, renal pelvis, ureter. It would then travel to the bladder, and through the urethra, we would finally be able to vacate urine out of the body.